So I don't know where to start with this one, guys. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast after a very long hiatus of no podcast episodes, me telling you that there's going to be a podcast episode, and then there not being, and indeed a 5-year hiatus on North Korea tours. And that's a bit of a clue, I suppose, for what we're going to talk about today. North Korea is open, kind of. It's open to a place called Rason, which is in the northeast. It's a special economic zone. It's very different to the rest of North Korea. It's not Pyongyang. We're going to get into that later. I didn't mean to jump right in here, but you can tell my excitement, and also I'm kind of confused and I'm so busy and I'm so tired. My gosh, I've been waiting for this moment for the past over 5 years. January 2020 is when North Korea closed. My life has been on hold since then. I don't know if you guys have been following what I've been doing. I basically decided I didn't want to get a new job. I didn't want to, go into a different industry. I wanted to wait for North Korea to open. And nobody thought that it would be 5 years. In hindsight, what a beautiful thing. In hindsight, I may have decided to go into a different industry if I knew that it would be 5 years, or at least do something else. I'm not young anymore. I'm not chilling in my 20s. So things have been a little tricky over the past few years. I've basically surrounded my life around North Korea, and I have no regrets, but hindsight, is a terrible thing. I've been basically being busy with first doing a master's and then doing a second master's and now doing my PhD, all around topics that I'm really passionate about, media and North Korea and those kind of things. But I didn't know I would be waiting 5 years to make this video. And of course, alongside all of the academic things that I've been doing, as well as working as well, I still work in marketing, I still work for Choreo Tours, but as well as doing that, I've obviously had these little side gigs as well where I've been trying to build up this community on Instagram, on my YouTube, on the podcast, but it hasn't been what I wanted it to be. And I know that you guys have been incredibly supportive. You've really loved the podcast, which is why I'm prioritizing this time. But I never wanted to make these like little explainer videos. I never wanted to be making vlogs in Tonga. I never wanted to be doing that. I wanted to show you real life in North Korea. I wanted to take you on trips to North Korea, these kind of things. And finally, 5 years later, I might just be getting to do that. But before I can, because unfortunately, I was not able to go on the first trip back to North Korea. My colleague did, who we have on the show today, friend of the podcast, Greg. He will be joining us in just a couple of minutes. Things come at the wildest of times. So, funnily enough, I deliberately didn't plan anything for the past 2021, 22, 23, 24, 20... up to 25. I didn't make any concrete plans because I wanted to be ready to have my bags packed to go to North Korea the second that they needed me to. And in 2024, I decided, you know what? I've put my life on hold too long. I'm going to sign up to these things, all these things that I didn't sign up to, all these things, all these plans that I didn't make because I was worried, what if I'll need to go to North Korea? So in 2024, I decided, no, I'm going to ignore all of that. You've got to move on, Zoe, a little bit. So I created tours to Afghanistan. I created tours to Bangladesh. And I signed up for the 100K marathon in March 2025 that I didn't sign up for in March 2024 because I thought that North Korea would be open by that. And can you imagine what happens in March 2025? All of these things, I kid you not. Afghanistan tours. I was on tour when all of this was being announced. Bangladesh tours. That's where I currently am now. I'm currently leading our first Bangladesh tour. I'm in a random hotel in Bangladesh in Dhaka. And the 100K marathon in 2025 in March that I had signed up for. All of these things, literally the list of things that I had put off not to do, they're all happening. But it's fine. Life has its way of doing these things to you, and you can only really embrace them. I hope that you can hear beneath my kind of complaints. I hope that you can hear that I am very excited. I'm so happy that North Korea is opening. If you'd have asked me this time last year, I would have said maybe it will never open. But it's clear now that North Korea might be going through a slow opening, as we see through the Rason opening. Hopefully later this year, maybe even just in a couple of months, Pyongyang will be open as well. So stay tuned. It's gonna be very busy on here. It's gonna be very busy in my life as I try to keep everything up to date across all these platforms, carry on my work, carry on my tour guiding throughout random countries, and also carry on this podcast as well. So next week, I will be discussing the resumption of tourism in North Korea a little bit more, and then you bet it, as soon as I'm going back to North Korea, which, by the way, will be from March the 1st. That is the first tour that I'm leading. I'm coming straight from Dhaka on the first plane to Beijing, where I will be heading up to Rason. I will be doing a podcast episode, or maybe even a couple, as I take you on the tour, the first tour back to North Korea. It's going to be a lot of fun. But firstly, just to catch you up on what's been happening. So our staff, my good friend and colleague, friend of the podcast, Greg, made it back to North Korea, to Rason on the 20th of, no, not on the 20th of February. When did he go? On the 14th of February. No, it was even sooner than that. You know what? I'm going to double check with Greg the exact date that he went in. He went in on the first day of opening for the North Korean borders. I even think it might have been the 12th of February. I can't check right now. And he was one of the first foreigners, first Westerners, because there have been, Russians going in on tourist visas, a very, very limited number of them. He was one of the first Westerners to be in the country, pass through the border for the first time in 5 years, which is very, very exciting. And he's agreed to be on the podcast episode. I had so many of you guys emailing me, messaging me on Instagram. Is Greg going to be doing a podcast? When's the podcast coming back? All of these things. So I just wanted to clear up for you why I'm not there myself, because believe me, I will be there. And believe me, no matter what happens, I will be the first back to Pyongyang. And also get some updates on where I've been, how I'm feeling. It's bittersweet for me, to be honest. It's kind of like when you organize a New Year's plan and you spend years and years and years working on that plan, months and months and months working on that plan. For me, years and years and years. And then suddenly it comes around and you're like, oh, okay, this is not exactly how I planned it out to be. I didn't plan that North Korea would open Rason first of all places. I didn't plan that I would be busy at the exact dates and not be able to go and plan for any of this. But hey, as I said before, that's life. And I don't know if you can hear in the background as well the call to prayer. Like I said, I am in Bangladesh. There's a lot going on around me. I'm also right next to a train track. So bear with me as we go through this episode. As we talk to Greg, I'm sure he'll be very tired and very excited to tell us everything about it. I haven't spoken to him yet at all. So this is going to be like a friend catch up, a colleague catch up, and a very interesting insight for you guys, what North Korea is like at the moment. Right, let's welcome Greg. So whilst I'm waiting for Greg to jump into this meeting, I do just want to acknowledge the fact that, one, we are recording video. So if you want to head over to the YouTube, then you can just watch me and Greg chat on for the next hour. You can also see my very interesting setup. I swear the call to prayer just keeps going right outside my window. And I'm currently sat, there's a helicopter flying overhead. You can't make this stuff up. I'm currently sat on the bed, which was the best kind of lighting and things that I could find. I'm holding my mic, which I don't even know why I brought my mic. I wasn't even vlogging that much. And I guess it's just life saying, hey, we might be playing some jokes on you, but at least we reminded you to bring your mic because we knew that this was happening. Anyway, I'm not complaining. So let Greg into the meeting room. Let's see where he is. You haven't got your mic on. It says that it should be working. I know we've had so much fun trying to sort the audio and visuals out. Good thing is though, Greg had a smart haircut in North Korea and he is looking dashing. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Oh, well, nice to hear from you, Greg. Nice to see you. And I was just saying to everyone that you've had a brand new haircut in North Korea and that you do look very dashing. Is
Yeah, there's an announcement, so
Oh, there was an announcement. That's fine. I'll repeat it for the third time, just how dashing you are. No, I was telling everyone that you had a haircut in North Korea and that you're looking very fine. So everyone should go over to the YouTube and see how good your haircut from North Korea is looking.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I actually it wasn't planned. We just so basically, I was taken to like almost all hotels in the Rason area, and there's a new hotel called Pekpon Ho, which is I think a Chinese joint venture, and I would think that they started to build it as an apartment building because next to it there are two apartment buildings which like exactly the same has exactly the same appearance. And then you were like they were showing me the facilities, and oh, Riba, hairdresser. So I guess like, can I maybe have a hairdress like a haircut here? They said, hey, of
Mhm.
course, why not just wait 30 minutes and then we can arrange it for you. So
Amazing. Oh, I love it.
yeah,
By the way, are you on your laptop or a phone?
I'm on my phone. My laptop is back in Beijing. I'm not going to carry my
Uh,
laptop into the DPRK. Sorry, it
yeah,
has
no,
too
no,
much South
no.
Korean stuff, or like as they would say, Republic of Korea stuff.
We're recording here, Greg. You just outed yourself to to the whole podcast about your love for South Korean things. Um, that's fine. I was just going to ask you to record on your phone as well, but in case the sound doesn't work. But we're here now, and we're recording. So let's just fingers crossed that everything does record okay. Um, so uh, you just got back from North Korea. This is very exciting. I have very mixed feelings about everything that is happening, but you're very lucky because you got to be pretty much the first Westerner to go back to North Korea. Um, what are your first thoughts and feelings, and how do you think about it? How was your trip? We have so many questions. Let's get started. What are your first impressions?
Okay, so I think that I'm going to be repeating myself for the next few days in various interviews and conversations. But the first impression was that I was really welcomed. I mean, not me personally, but I felt that I am being welcomed even at the border. Like Rason is used to know for being quite strict when it comes to customs and immigration and so on. And I didn't really have the feeling that it was stricter than any other places. Actually, it was a bit more easygoing and relaxed. Everyone was smiling. Like, as far as you can tell if someone is smiling because everyone was wearing masks at the border. Um,
Can you just repeat that? Sorry, everyone was what now?
Wearing masks
Okay.
at the border. But they were smiling, welcoming. Actually, the very first thing they do is they measure your temperature, and then you have to send your luggage through a disinfection machine. That's something I had never experienced before, although I was crossing the border twice during COVID. But still, they have a disinfection machine. Um, the officials were wearing masks. In the city, I would say that like 50% of the population is still wearing masks. It's not mandatory,
Wow, okay.
but actually,
Mm.
if you look at the weather forecast on Korean Central Television in the evening, they have like certain recommendations for the next day. And one of the
Wow.
recommendations is a picture or like a drawing of a mask. So they do recommend people
How
to
interesting. Yeah. And I
wear
mean,
masks.
for the past, obviously, COVID has been out of our radars for the past while. And for me, at least, a lot of it about the North Korea borders staying closed for the past 5 years. For the first few years, a couple of years at least, it was obvious that it was, impacted by COVID. But in the past couple of years, I've been more inclined to think, you know, I just think that they're delaying it because they don't really want to open. I don't think that tourism benefits necessarily North Korea in a positive way in their mind. I think that it benefits North Korea in a positive way in my mind. But I think that North Korea, can see tourism as a kind of threat to the country. So it's interesting that you say that like a lot of COVID things are still around there, because maybe it is actually more related to COVID, why they took so long to open the border. What do you think?
Well, first of all, the two things are not mutually exclusive, right? So you can be
Yes.
still worried of COVID or any other diseases like monkeypox, and not wanting foreigners back because you have potential threat of seeing or like spreading reactionary ideas. But I'm not sure, like maybe. So the people you meet are really concerned about COVID because that's what they are being told. But so it's possible that the motives of the government when it comes to COVID is the same towards the local population and foreigners, that they are just using it for an excuse for something. I'm not sure. I'm not sure to what extent the government is really worried about COVID, because then why would you allow in Russians?
Yes, true.
And not other tourists? Why would you allow in Chinese businessmen? Like, it's not that like on February 13th, we were the first people to cross into the DPRK ever since January 2020. Chinese people, like Chinese business people and Chinese residents and Russian residents of Rason has been there for a while.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
It does seem so that it's part of everyday life in Korea to worry about viruses in general.
Okay, interesting.
And also, basically, actually, so when I asked, do you think that it's going to be possible to go to Raji market? Because that's one of the biggest things which has been removed from the itinerary. And they told me that, like, no, not now, at least for a while, because they couldn't convince the manager of Raji market that foreigners won't spread viruses in there.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting insight. Okay, so I suppose that it's been kind of, I mean, we see North Korea tourism as a very centralized thing and as a very, okay, one person says this and then it kind of goes, but it's interesting to see that kind of cooperation on a local level with the local market, or with potentially probably other local sites as well, and schools, where schools have had to say like, yes, we're okay with foreigners, no, we're not, things like that. Yeah.
And I have absolutely no facts to back up this speculation, but I do believe that what happened. So the reason why it was delayed, of course, the Chinese side. It was interesting that Chinese seemed to be more concerned about me going to North Korea than the Koreans. So they asked a lot of questions on the Chinese border. Like, they were also very friendly and very cooperative, and like they tried their best to make each other understood, because I don't speak Chinese, they don't speak English or Korean, although I was trying to okay, like, come on guys, it's like Korean is everywhere, at least on the signboards here in Yanji or in Yanbian. So like, do you have at least someone who speaks Korean? No. But so I'm not complaining about the Chinese.
That's very surprising.
Side.
So there was no one that spoke Korean?
Yeah. Like, first Korean I heard here in China was just like right here in the coffee shop at the airport, where they have like 3 Seoul flights a day. Anyhow, so the Chinese seem to be more concerned about, like, so why are you going to North Korea? Where do you work? What you going to do in North Korea? Also, when I return, like, how was your meeting? Are you going back to North Korea soon? Who was the partner you were meeting in North Korea?
Wow.
So I had like a small interrogation, like a very friendly one, but it still felt like, it's like, why is it your business what I'm doing in North Korea?
Yeah. But that was when you were entering North Korea and exiting back into China, right?
Both way they were like a bit interrogative. So I do believe that, like, the Chinese side not being open to process foreigners was one of the reasons. And the other reasons might have been that someone just higher up decided, okay, Rason is going to be the place where we're going to let tourists in, and then they just told the local travel company at the same time as he told us, and they had to figure out their
Right.
like,
Yeah, because it
what to
was
do. Like,
hilarious.
you only have
Yeah.
they only have like 4 English-speaking guides, right?
Mm,
Also, those English-speaking guides haven't met a foreigner for 5 years who spoke English. So they also concerned that their knowledge, that they forgot a lot of words and they out of practice.
yeah.
So that also could have played a small role in the delay. But
Yeah.
hey,
And
we are
but
going
hey,
to get our group in
yes.
on Thursday, so it's only 1 week delay from what we told the customers at the beginnings. So
Absolutely. No, we did an absolutely amazing job. And I really have to congratulate you for all the hard work that you've put in. Guys, it's been absolutely crazy at the Choreo HQ. Like, we've been told one thing, told another thing, told nothing. Our partners in North Korea who we were trying to get in contact with didn't pay their phone bill. So so we couldn't even literally contact with them. It's been a wild ride, and Greg has been managing a lot of that. So thank you, Greg Dongti.
and also like the Wi-Fi, like, so
Yes, tell us about the Wi-Fi, because
how the
we've been
Wi-Fi works.
yeah, so we've been doing like Instagram stories and uploading stuff that we've got live from you from in North Korea. How did you have Wi-Fi? What's with the Wi-Fi now in North Korea? Tell us.
So there are 2 hotels in Rason which offer Wi-Fi, but I'm sorry to say, the customers, we won't stay at those hotels. First of all, like, the Wi-Fi system is so complicated that it's just not feasible to get online. So first you have to wait for the guy who is in charge of the Wi-Fi system to register your phone, your like serial number of your phone, your passport, and then they put it in the system. And then every single time you want to go on the Wi-Fi, you have to go to the counter of the hotel reception and tell them that, okay, I want like 30 minutes of Wi-Fi. And then they have to activate the new password, the new username under your name. But the activation process is a bit long, but as soon as they put onto the system and start the activation process, your counter for the minutes you paid, like 1 MB per minute, is already counting. So you might sign up for like 30 minutes, but it might take like 10 minutes to get your Wi-Fi working. And then you just end up having 20 minutes of Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So you're never too sure at how long you have the Wi-Fi on. It takes
It's
at
just a
least 5 to
mess.
10 minutes to get the activation. But actually, what is really interesting that like you actually have to go on a website. So if you are connected to the Wi-Fi and your phone is registered in the system, you can go to a website where
Like
you
a
have to put on like
like a North Korean
when you go
website.
to a hotel, like
Okay.
when you go to an Ibis, for example, right? You also have to like
You and your
type in your like
ibis.
name and thing. Of course, your like name and your room number. Here you will have to put in a username and a password, but which is new
Okay.
every single time when you sign up to the Wi-Fi.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, so for everybody wanting to travel to Rason, it's basically old school North Korea travel. There will be no internet, there will be no Wi-Fi. It's a great detox.
Yeah.
Super. Okay, so because I don't want to keep you super too long, but I do want to find out all about your trip still. Can you tell us a little bit about how the itinerary looked, and just walk us through the itinerary and what you were kind of up
Okay.
to, and were you traveling? Were you meeting with partners? Tell us what was going on.
A bit of a mix. So yeah, it wasn't a tour itinerary, and I wasn't going on a tourist visa. I was going as a delegation, as they call it. So the itinerary was a mix of some tourist sites and also some meetings with the head of the travel company there, Rason International Travel Company. And we also visited quite a few hotels. Actually, I was surprised how many hotels we had in Rason.
Really? Okay.
So the touristy things we did were the taekwondo performance, the school children's palace, where we visited like music rooms, a math class. We hate people.
You can just tell the people to behave.
Yes, just loud. Too loud for the interview, right?
Excellent.
Then what else? English class.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because they had to practice conversations, and they showed us the conversation where they're practicing, and then one of the questions like, "So where are you from?" "I'm from California." Oh.
Okay.
Uh,
Interesting that they choose locations in the US. Okay.
Then we visited 2 schools.
Mm-hmm.
The school uniform factory, which was quite cool because I could finally try on a North Korean.
Oh, you looked great. Yeah, one of
University.
those hats. Yeah,
No, I
we
look
have
fat.
no. I don't know if you've managed to check out our Instagrams since you've been away and stuff, but we have posted that picture of you with your cap looking great on our feed on Instagram, so people can go and check that out. It looks great, I think.
I was quite happy with that because ever since I studied at Pyongyang College of Tourism for a month, I wanted to have a school cap, and now I have a chance to have it for like a minute.
Yeah.
A beer factory, Tumangang, where they produce Tumangang beer, and that's going to be the beer bar visit, which is quite okay.
I saw you trying some corn juice there, or corn
Yes,
beer. How was
it's
that?
like a fizzy corn. It's a fizzy corn drink. Quite
Okay.
refreshing. Like I can imagine myself drinking it on a hot summer day.
Is it alcoholic?
No.
Okay, interesting. Very nice.
And actually, they are building now a beer bar. I have a picture of it. I accidentally took because actually it's under construction. You're not supposed to take photos of construction sites, but they actually have a beer bottle on the side. So I think they're kind
Oh, like in Pyongyang.
Yeah, they try to copy the Hwasong beer bar in Pyongyang.
Okay, cool. Very interesting.
So I hope, and maybe it's going to be done by May. So I hope that it's going to be possible to visit it. It's right across Namsan Hotel. Yeah.
Excellent. Amazing. Do you have any favorite itinerary item, or anything that, like, what is a new itinerary item, and what is something that you really missed apart from the market in Rason? Is there something extra that you missed that you would have liked to see in this time?
So the school uniform factory was the coolest for me, to be honest.
Could you buy the hat, or did you have to leave it there?
No, I asked if I can, and no, they said no. And it's not for sale in the factory because they're going to send it to the schools because the uniform is provided by the state for free.
That makes sense.
Blah,
They're
blah.
suppliers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that one. Honestly, like the only time I've been to Rason was a very short visit because my train from Pyongyang was delayed for like 12 hours, so it was shortened. Oh, the other one is the Czech beer bar in Heian Park.
Oh yeah, is that closed now? And the 3D cinema is closed?
It has been closed for 2 years, they say.
Okay, and you can't visit the port anymore?
No.
And Pipa Island? You can still visit, right?
There are no seals right now, but you can visit.
Still go there.
They have a nice seafood restaurant there.
Yeah, and the 3-country border, you can still visit?
Yes, I wasn't there because it wasn't on my itinerary because it was more like meeting and hotel focused. But it's going to be on the itinerary for the first tour and tours.
Yeah. So speaking of the first tours, Greg just kind of alluded to it before, but we do have like a last minute. It wasn't kind of listed on our website. We had a group of people who were super keen and ready to drop everything. And indeed, we did have about, 10 or 15 people that did indeed drop everything when we basically said, we are able to accept tourists, but you need us to send your application within the next 20 hours or something crazy. And this group managed to do that somehow, 10 or 15 of them, and they will be entering on the 20th. They'll be the first official group tour back into North Korea, as far as I'm aware. And then we also have another group tour. I know what you're going to say, Greg. The first official Western.
No, let me cut in. I just want to finish this nonsense of who is being the first. Does it really matter? Isn't it important that like we can start to engage again with Koreans?
Absolutely.
Because that's the point. That's the point of tourism. So like, yeah, I was the first Westerner to set my foot on dprk Seoul, but then I was number 3 to enter the country officially. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if our tour group is going to be the first or our group is going to be like 5 minutes behind. What is important that we can engage with North Koreans again, that people can understand the DPRK more than what would have been possible, just reading from news articles and defector testimonies and other academic books. And it's also important that North Koreans meet foreigners and they learn that, like, we are not those, evils with horns and spiky tails, etc., etc. And also and actually it's really important for Rason, because Rason has no much experience with Western tourists, and I do believe that like a cooperation with them will also enable them to come up with new ideas, because that's what happens in Pyongyang. One of my closest colleagues in Pyongyang never understood walking tours, like why I always insist on going on a walk. And then she had the chance to go overseas, and where she was also a tourist. And then the next time we met, she was guiding a private group, and she told me, Greg, I just took my private tour on a walking tour because of you, because you always insist on going on a walking tour, and I experienced how important it is. So that's the important thing, not like being the first one in Korea.
And I had the exact same. You're right. I had the exact same experience with the North Korean as well, saying a similar thing. I've had first time going abroad, and this is the exact reason, Greg, why I'm in marketing and you're in charge of the North Korea tours. We work perfectly like yin and yang. But enough talk of who was the first to cross in, aside from all of the, tens or hundreds of Russians that have been before everyone in reality. You're very right. The number one thing is engagement with the Koreans, and, the reason why we do this and why we believe it's ethical, and why, we like to encourage people to go to North Korea. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the more human interactions and the more human experiences you had in North Korea. We all know that it's very difficult to speak to local people on the ground. I know you hate it when I say local North Koreans, but the people walking on the street, it's harder to interact with them. However, you do have a little bit of good Korean knowledge. So maybe you did try and interact at least with the people working in the industry, for example, the staff at the restaurant or the local partners and things like that. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about some nice experiences that you had and how welcoming or unwelcoming they were to you.
Okay, so first of all, I never talk to random people on the street, because I don't do it in any other countries, and I bet any other people would do it. So, but I did have a lot of conversation with. I'm a coffee addict, so I had to have my coffee in the mornings, sometimes also in the evening. So I had some conversation with the Pongsawon-dong Muda, like the waitress,
there.
And she became like very friendly. Like this morning actually, she even showed me a photo of her son. So she kind of opened up. Also the receptionist, because we had to always interact for the Wi-Fi, and there were other foreigners as well there, and I was the only one relatively fluent in Korean, so we also could build rapport. and we had some conversations, even shared some cigarettes. um,
Yeah, I think
so
cigarettes and beer
I
are
saw that, like,
cigarettes, beer, and coffee are the main way to get friendly with the locals.
yeah. So I felt pretty welcomed. Also, I had 2 tour guides, as usual. And one of them is actually officially a Chinese-speaking guide, and he never learned English as like a main subject, just as any ordinary university student would do. I think actually, like, compared to that, his English was quite good, but we had a mix. So anytime we were conversing, we had a mix of Korean and English. And I think that also was really helpful to build rapport.
Right.
And he was quite knowledgeable about Hungary, actually. And I was like, did he just do his homework so diligently, or he really knows about Hungary so much? But I've never met anyone who was so knowledgeable about Hungary. He would have been notified about my arrival like less than 24 hours, or around 24 hours before I arrived. So I think he was genuinely knowledgeable about Hungary. That was amazing. Like some details, like,
interesting. Yeah, because for those that don't know, Greg is from Hungary.
Some of the listeners might have figured it out from my beautiful Hungarian accent.
It is a beauty, but I would not be able to pinpoint your accent. I would be confused if you speak to me. I would be confused.
Actually, if you lived in Hungary, then you might have. It's not time for an anecdote about it, but like, once I was talking to a random British lady on the metro in Berlin, and she was like, "I'm from Hungary," and I'm like, "How do you know from the
really?
accent?"
How interesting.
Yeah, but at least I don't sound like my government, like my prime minister or my foreign minister. Anyway, yeah. So
you had a very good interactions with the locals. Yeah, you felt.
And also this was the first time for me in North Korea when I can claim that I was more or less fluent, and it's a totally different experience.
Fluent in Korean, did you say?
Like,
did you say totally fluent?
No. Me being more or less fluent in Korean means that the experience is totally different.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Because you can communicate more with the locals. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, because a lot of people ask me, well, can I talk to, the normal North Koreans? And I'm like, well, do you speak Korean? Chances are they'll only speak Korean. Maybe they'll speak Chinese, especially if they're working in the hospitality industry, but even fewer will then speak English. Maybe you found more up there speak Russian as well. That would make sense because of the geographic location. But either way, English is a little bit further down from Chinese, from Russian. So it's nice to hear that.
Especially in Rason.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to hear that, speaking Korean did give you that extra bit of nice interaction.
Yeah, but only with the people working in the service industry.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And for
because I would consider it quite to just, I mean, maybe I couldn't, but just walking up to people on the street like, "Hey, how are you?" That would feel like being on a zoo.
Totally. And I agree. And, I actually have a video on my YouTube channel that is literally like, it's titled like, "Why don't North Koreans wave back at me?" And it's literally like that kind of zoo mentality or entitlement that people walking down the street in North Korea, in Pyongyang or wherever, they'll wave and then they won't get a wave back. And they're like, "Why are they not waving back at me?" And I'm like, they don't have to wave back at you. Like, it's weird to kind of do that and also kind of expect it. And there are many reasons why they don't wave back at you, right? But you're right, like, the end of it, the main thing is that they don't have to, and they don't want to wave back, so they don't.
Yeah, I would find it really weird if someone was waving at me in Budapest. Like,
yeah,
what's wrong with you, man?
Exactly. Yes, can you imagine, like, some tourists walking down the street like, "Hey." Yeah.
So you're very you make a good point, and I think all of my interactions either in Rason or in Pyongyang have been the same. If I am interacting with anyone who's not in the service industry or not related to tourism at all, then it will be like an organic interaction that I'm on the street and someone smiles at me or something, I smile back, or you do something, you trip over a pavement and then someone laughs at you and you kind of like are like whoopsie daisy, it's organic, and maybe you start talking from that, but it's never a hi, how are you situation. Yeah. So for tours, what can we kind of expect for the next few weeks? And I know you're not a genie, and I know that things that can predict the future, and I know that things are changing literally by the minute. But we do have fixed Rason tours now. All of the tours to Rason that we have are confirmed, and they'll be running all throughout the year now. The ones that are available for booking on the Choreo Tours website are up until May, I think, but we'll get more up as soon as possible, as soon as Greg has had his coffee and a rest and stopped with all the media interviews. But what can tourists kind of expect from a trip to Rason? How different is it from Pyongyang? And the ultimate question, should tourists wait until Pyongyang opens, or should they go to Rason now?
Okay, so I think the fact that I haven't been to North Korea for 5 years helped, in a sense that, like, when I was coming from North Korea, I felt it like it's very different. But now that I didn't have exposure to North Korea for 5 years, I went to Rason and said, "Oh, yeah, this is the real North Korea." And it's like I don't see the difference. It just, I know that it is separated by internal border from the rest of the country, and I know that there are like Chinese residents and Russian residents. But it really felt like, oh yes, this is a country I've been going to for like 2 years before the pandemic. So if people ask me now if they should wait for Pyongyang or not, my answer would be a bit different than before my trip now. And I would say it depends on what you expect. If you want to, go to the famous tourist attractions and the sites in Pyongyang and see the fancy new apartment buildings, then yeah, let's wait for Pyongyang. But if you just want to have a general impression of North Korea and interact with or like have a general impression of North Korean people, then yes, sign up for the Rason tour. Because it's going to give you a good impression of, maybe a better impression than Pyongyang actually, because it's more rural, right? Like even
it's more relaxed,
in
right?
Rason City. But even in Rason City, you have like single-story buildings, like as you would see in villages throughout the country. The guides have not as much experience with Westerners as the guides in Pyongyang, and their English is not as good. So probably the explanations won't be that good. But again, like, do you really want to listen to, this is 150 meters high and 20 meters wide? No. But you can...
I don't know, it's interesting.
But you can still, build rapport and have like small talk, a bit more meaningful than small talk with the guides. And you will feel like how warm-hearted they can be. Like,
that's lovely. I've never heard such sweet words come from you, Greg.
Whenever I came up with some like stupid ideas, then we made it happen. Like, we for some reason we started to talk about cold noodle. And it's like, so is it a good cold noodle house in Rason, or like, do you prefer Hamhung cold noodles or Pyongyang cold noodles? And then yes, like, you know what? On Sunday, like we can go to Heankwan for lunch.
They took you to the good. Nice. Okay.
They took me to the local cold noodle house, or the hairdresser we talked about before, or like the guy just jokingly, like, both of us knew that it's not possible. Like, do you want to visit my house? Because that's like where he lives. And I like, of course I want, but, and then like, and I want to try your wife's kimchi. And he arranged somehow. He managed to while I was visiting somewhere.
Yeah.
I think I was in the gallery, and in the gallery I caused some extra trouble because there was a Korean style painting. I mean, the technique was Korean of Pyongyang Marathon, and Korea Tours is the Pyongyang Marathon partner, right? And I so can I buy this? And it's like, oh, you can't buy it. It's like, why can't I buy it? And then okay, you can buy it, but then but you have to take the whole frame and stuff. It's like, I can't carry the whole frame. So it took them like 20 minutes to get it off the frame and like take off the. So anyhow, I think that it gave enough time to my guide to meet his wife and get his kimchi, and that was one of the most delicious kimchis I ever had. It had for the first, it had a little bit of nutty taste, and then the spiciness kicked in.
Ooh.
It was amazing. Like these gestures.
Yeah, they mean a lot.
Are it's very memorable.
Yeah, very human and stuff, and they can definitely help you to kick off your North Korea food critic career as well. Awesome. Do you have any is there anything else that you want to, any other nice experiences that you want to kind of take us through, or anything else that you can help someone to prepare for a trip to Rason? Maybe in our last few minutes you can also just talk to us about what is Rason and why is it so different? Like, what everyone is asking, what is Rason and why is it so different? You know, everyone is asking, like, what is this special economic zone? Is there any aspects of it being a special economic zone that you actually feel when you're there, apart from just visiting factories?
Yes, the fact that there are foreign citizens, right? You can even see Chinese license plates, like
okay.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, there was a car taking over, and there was a woman driving the car. I was like, I've never seen a North Korean. I mean, save the trams and the trolley buses. I've never seen a North Korean woman driving in North Korea. And then, okay, it was a Chinese car with a Chinese license plate. And then you have a lot of Chinese people actually all over Rason. Yeah, the Golden Triangle Bank, like a lot of banks, like in the city center, you can just see Unhang, which means bank, bank, bank.
Okay.
I can't even recall seeing any bank signs in other parts of Korea. What else? Yeah, like I think these are the most striking differences, suggesting that it's a special economic zone. And the joint ventures, I'm not sure to what extent they are joint ventures now, especially after COVID and the US travel ban. Because it was like a lot of joint ventures were actually like overseas Koreans, mostly Americans and North Korean, and mostly like the religious background for the American Koreans.
Okay.
I was also surprised like how bad people were they about recent news. So they knew about President Trump's new tariff policy, like the recent fallout with Europe over the 25% tariffs. They knew about the impeachment and arrest of President Yoon Suk Yeol in South Korea. The first time I ever in my life I could use the official name of Korea, South Korea, the Hamingu, and it wasn't like what you're talking about. It's not just wrong.
Yeah. So what were you calling them? Like, oh, go on.
And in the school, like you know, like how it. I mean, maybe not everyone, but like some people might know that like whenever whenever you saw a map of Korea, it was the whole Korean peninsula. And now it's just the DPRK.
Interesting.
And it's very striking. Like when I went to the school, and I'm like, it is different. I mean, I knew about this difference, but experiencing it firsthand is
very
different.
Yeah, although, because for those for those that don't know, North Korea basically changed this policy. Was it about 6 months ago now, or maybe a little bit longer ago?
No, a year, over a year.
A year ago, okay. They decided that, South Korea is indeed the enemy state, and that, instead of focusing on reunification, they've kind of declared, reunification as kind of impossible, and they're focused on just, the DPRK, the north part of the peninsula. Whereas before, when you would have gone into North Korea, you would have seen everything about reunification. You ask the guides, the first thing that they'll tell you, what do you want the most in the world? The first thing that they'll tell you always is reunification, right, Greg? Like, it was so embedded in the hearts and the minds of the local people there that it's really astonishing. And like Greg says as well, it's embedded in the physical aspects of society as well. When you see the physical whole Korean Peninsula map, which obviously has changed now, and we can expect definitely that to be the case in Pyongyang as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. In the interest of keeping your sanity, I will ask you just one more question, and it's only going to be a one-line question. Your bets on when will Pyongyang open? Your educated guess.
I simply don't know.
No educated guess. Simply don't know. Okay. No idea. Sooner rather than later, let's say. Yeah.
Well, there's a major event coming up in Pyongyang, supposedly, but
yeah. To be fair,
April,
the only reason why I ask you this question is so that I don't have to keep answering it. It is the number one question that we keep getting on the WhatsApp, on the Instagram, in emails and stuff. When is Pyongyang going to open? Shall I wait to Pyongyang? So I just wanted to export that question onto you, so everyone knows.
So that I'm not talking directly to any customers, I can be a bit more rude, right? Guys,
Direct,
we're going to let you know if we know news. It's our main interest to let you know. Okay, so if we know, we're going to tell you. You don't have to ask. You don't have to text me twice a day if I have any updates from such and such. It's my interest to get you to Pyongyang or Rason as soon as possible. It's like that's it. Like, and your question about Pyongyang, I just honestly don't know. Even the Koreans don't know. Just wait.
Sorry. You paused for a minute on your rant. Carry on. It's in our interest, and then.
Yeah, so it's Korea Tour's interest to get you into Korea as soon as possible. So we're going to let you know once we hear. So I just simply don't know when it's going to happen.
Yes, excellent answer. Okay, awesome, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. If you have any last things to add from your trip, now's the time. And otherwise, now's the time for you to, let everybody know if they want to hear something from you. If you want to plug some tours, I'll give you the floor for one last 10 seconds. What do you want to tell people?
No, also, if you find me interesting, then probably you want to go on a tour with me in Hungary, my native homeland, which will have some North Korean perspective as well, which is going to be, like, Hungary is open and Budapest is going to be open in May for sure. And then please sign up to the Hungary or the Serbia-Hungary tour because it's going to be interesting, I think.
Great, that's a great plug. You've got an internship in the marketing department now. I'll put the information for Greg's Hungary tour in the show notes, down in any description on whatever platform you're watching this. And thank you so much, Greg. Do make sure to follow his journey on the Koryo Tours Instagram and on his own personal Instagram, which will be tagged as well. And hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we'll see each other. Well, we'll see each other in Beijing soon. I'll see you next week.
No, you won't, because I'm going to Singapore and Bhutan.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we'll miss each other. Never mind.
Okay.
Well, we'll see each other soon.
No,
Thank you
end
so
of
much,
March.
Greg.
For your special tour
End
with
of March.
people who want to take it easy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm running a special tour at the end of March where it's like our longest tour in Rason. So if you want to go there for a long time, chill more with the locals, have some more coffee, come with me on that one. All right. Thank you so much, Greg. See you next time.
See you. Bye-bye.
Want to say a massive thank you to Greg once again for coming on the podcast. And even during the busiest time of your life, probably, as all the different media and press reach out to you, you took time to come on this little podcast and say hi to all your fans here. So thank you to Greg, and thank you to you guys who make this possible, and really it's the reason why we're still here. So thank you so much, and do make sure to follow Choreo Tours on Instagram at Choreo Tours. You can follow Greg, I'll put his Instagram in the show notes, and just make sure to keep up with us, keep up to date, because believe me, there's going to be a lot happening over the next few weeks, few months, and you're going to want to be along for the ride. Anyway, thank you so much for listening up until now. See you next week.